Welcome back to the Lone Star Showdown. I think we're both pretty excited to be here. Thanksgiving was great. How about you?
Yeah, I think yours was a little better than mine, but I had a blast. My team won. Uh, couldn't have asked for much better. I mean, I guess Kansas could have beaten Kansas State for me, but I didn't think they would anyway.
Yeah, all the Texas fans seem to turn into, or Texas fans seem to turn into Kansas fans over the weekend. Um,
Yeah, you gotta do whatever you can do to win some good juju, and we needed it. So
so Texas is bowl eligible for the
woo woo.
in 2 years. A&M is not bowl eligible for the first time in over a decade. Yeah.
At least you got a top five win. How in the world was the LSU number five? I guess
Uh,
from beating Bama. I guess.
I mean, they beat Bama, and then they beat Ole Miss, who Ole Miss was a fraud.
Right, I know.
Um,
They had their easy part of schedule at the first half, so
and then barely beat A&M.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm not convinced Lane Kiffin's gonna. They'll run him out the door with as much as they're paying him. He'll get run out the door eventually. Um, yeah, man. So let's talk about it. So Texas. So we have two games to catch up on actually.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
Texas played Baylor last week, and then the week before that, they stomped a mud hole in Kansas.
Finally, it's been forever since we've stomped a mud hole in them. Yes, it was a heavy run game. Both games were. In the Kansas game, I think yours only had 107 passing yards. Bijan had 243, freaking monster. That's like almost 10 times as much as he had against TCU the week prior. Same thing with Baylor. Yours, he almost threw for 200 yards, but it was mainly focused on Bijan the second half. I think he had like 7 touches in the first half and like 20 in the second half.
But didn't he
Uh,
finish with something stupid like 3 touchdowns and like 200 yards rushing?
yeah, yeah. He had 179 yards rushing, but yeah, like 3 touchdowns. He's in fourth place all time for Texas rushing. Um, it's gonna suck without him next year. There's like a 2% chance he stays, 98% chance he's gone. Um,
Well, I mean, I've been saying it all year. Bijan Robinson's probably going to be the number one
yeah,
running
yeah,
back
he
picked in
should
the
be.
NFL draft.
Yeah,
Um, I mean, I don't know how well every one of our listeners pay attention to the NFL, but the running backs don't go very high. That's I feel like that's the only thing that's going to entice running backs to like stay in college an extra year because even a guy like Bijan Robinson right now isn't projected to go in the first round, and if he is, it's like late first round. Um, it's just the way it is. Everybody's seen what happens when you take a running back early. Your Derrick Henrys go in the second round, and um, Tyreek Hill goes in like the fifth round. I know he's a wide receiver now, but I don't know. The last guy to go like high in a first round draft pick in the NFL was Ezekiel Elliott, and we've all seen how that's gone. Tony Pollard is Tony Pollard, who was Dallas's second or third round pick, I believe, is the more productive running back. Um, yeah, I don't know.
yeah. Uh, During the Baylor game, RG3 was one of the
Mhm.
announcers, and he was talking about how with NIL stuff, like with as much as he's making already, like is there a way for Texas to secure more NIL money so that he could stay? Like like say we can get him like a few more endorsements and he can be earning almost as much as he would be and not have to play in the NFL and just be in the place he loves that everyone loves him and people were chanting his name during the game like it. I mean, it's easy to leave that when you're going to be making millions. If you're already making like $4 million and you're going to leave to make $5 million, like I don't know, it's not out of the realm of possibility.
No, I mean it's really not with these collectives too. Like, how hard is it to get? I mean, we're talking about millionaires. Like, obviously, like $1 million is a lot to me. I'm not just going to pull $1 million out of a hat and give it to, Devon A. Chain, for example. But I mean, $1 million from one guy and $1 million from another guy. Or if you just, I mean, shoot, they were talking about it on the radio today. If you polled together, 100,000 fans, and you're like, oh, give us $100 each. Well, shoot, you got enough money to keep your running back for a
Right.
year. The thing is,
Well, I was gonna say, like, it's a new era. Like, um, just with NIL alone, like I said, like people are making millions right now in
mhm,
college, and teams are going to be like we've already talked about the transfer portal going to be crazy this offseason. It's already getting crazy right now. We had like 4 guys hop in today. Y'all have had a
7,
bunch of guys, whatever, 7 chance.
7.
Um, and it's people are going to start like utilizing the transfer portal in different ways. I think NIL and making players like giving them options to stay an extra year. Like I think college football is definitely changing, and so I don't know if this might be like the first few years of like maybe seeing more people staying. Who knows? Who knows? Obviously, I want what's best for him. He's amazing. I selfishly want him to stay, but obviously, being in the NFL is not a bad gig. So
The thing is, though, is that like in the NFL, like it's never about your rookie contract. Every NFL, like unless you're in the top 10, like it's never about your rookie contract. It's always about that second contract. And I said it in your Twitter mentions once. I think when you were talking about it, I was like, I mean, it's all about getting that second contract, and the closer you get to that second contract, that's when you make the money. You see these guys like Saquon Barkley. His contract's about to end. Well, that guy's going to go make some money somewhere. Like
yeah,
somebody's going to go. I mean, especially after the year he's had this year, he's going to go make some money somewhere. Tony Pollard. Tony Pollard's ending his rookie contract this year. I mean, unless Dallas gets rid of Ezekiel Elliott, are they going to overpay another running back to get him to stay around? Probably not. They probably already learned their lesson once. But
right,
I mean, those are few and far between. Like, I mean, that's when you get paid. Is your second?
right,
It's always your second. I mean, Ezekiel Elliott, for example. I mean, Dallas got burned by that, but I mean, the dude. That's where he made all of his money.
yeah,
Um, so that's
and
what.
yeah, and I think in your comment you said something about like, would you rather get to that second contract a year earlier by
Mhm.
leaving? And so it obviously like, yeah, you want to be healthier and fresher, and yeah, so it makes sense to leave, obviously.
Yeah, and you could end up like Jalen Smith did. He ended up being a second round pick to Dallas, and he ended up getting more money from Dallas, and they ended up cutting him because he was worth too much. But he was a top 10 guy coming out of Notre Dame, and he went to that, and he wasn't even coming back for another year. He was going to the draft, and he played in the Fiesta Bowl and tore his ACL, his MCL, and I think it may be an LCL too. He tore like his entire knee up, and ended up going from a top 10 pick to a second round pick, and it was like a total. He lost a total of like $15 million. I mean,
Yeah,
I guess if you just want to come back to college and make that NIL money, and if it's worth it to you, then that's fine. But the thing is, in the long run, once you get to the NFL, you're still going to have to wait 4 to 5 years to get that second contract, and it just gets pushed back one extra year just for you to come back to college.
right,
And I mean, I feel like we all know running backs don't have that long of a shelf life. Like
right,
you go into the NFL, you're going to those guys get banged up just as much as anybody else.
yeah. So yeah, so I mean, he's not going to New York on December 10th.
He
Uh,
might.
if Texas had beaten Texas Tech or Oklahoma State or if they had one less win, maybe, because we've talked about this, how like the better your team is, the better your chance of getting there are. So
Yeah.
I think he has the stats to get there. But 8-4,
See,
not gonna do it.
the thing is like I think he's had a better year than Blake Corum at Michigan.
Yeah,
They're both Doak Walker finalists.
yeah. I was just about to say, I think he is though a shoe in for the Doak Walker, because out of the three his stats are the best.
Yeah,
He has like 60 less yards than Chase Brown, but 70 less carries. That and eight more touchdowns.
yeah.
It's he should get that,
But
and he should be happy with that, I guess.
they're all like hyping up Blake Corum to go to New York, and he's not going to win the
No,
Doak Walker Award over
right.
Bijan. So
Yeah, it's only because they're in the playoff. Yeah,
I don't think that it'll be. I mean, I could be wrong, but I believe that Bijan may make it to New York. He may be like, how many guys do they invite every year?
I think
5.
4 or 5 maybe.
If they invite 5, he'll make it.
Yeah.
Now I don't know. This year's Heisman is just, I don't know. I feel like it's going to be so disappointing. I really think that Hendon Hooker should win it, in my opinion.
It's going to Caleb.
It's going to Caleb Williams,
Yes,
and
everyone knows it.
I don't think he deserves it, man. I just really, I think he's great. I think the guy like makes some. I watched him play that UCLA game, and he made some throws where he's like coming across, he's running off to his left, and he makes a crossbody throw to a guy that fits in this window, and it's a beautiful pass, and it looks like Patrick Mahomes. But he plays in the Pac-12, like. The one big game that he played in 2 big games, it was Utah and UCLA, and I know losses aren't a quarterback stat, but like I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think Hendon Hooker should win it. I think the guy was amazing this year. He went in and beat Bama. And like I get it, he didn't beat Bama on his own, but he threw for like what 5-6 touchdowns, 400 and something yards. His worst game was against Georgia. I mean, it's a stout defense. I don't know.
I think everyone's worst game is when they played Georgia this year.
Yeah, I don't. I think Max Duggan deserves it more than Caleb Williams.
Yeah.
Look what Max Duggan's done. He went from being the bench guy, the guy that wasn't even expected to start, to being the starter, to being the guy who's leading TCU to the playoff. I'd have to look at their stats. So I don't know. I think your Heisman guys are going to be Hendon Hooker, Caleb Williams, Max Duggan, most likely Blake Corum. I think Bijan Robinson should have that spot, and then your 5th maybe Bryce Young.
Yeah, just because it's Bama.
Yeah.
No, don't. You
CJ
saw the rankings.
Stroud. I forgot CJ Stroud from Ohio State.
Yeah, for sure him. You saw how they're ranked ahead of Tennessee, and Tennessee like beats them in not only head to head, but every single like category.
I forgot we got the second to last playoff poll today. Texas checks in at 20.
Yeah, big 2-0.
Yep. So Texas comes in at 20. Is this your second time being ranked in the college football playoff?
Maybe 3rd. Like I know it's like our 5th in the AP poll. Every time we lose, we go down or we fall out of it. And every time we win, we go back into it. So I think we've gone out 4 times.
In the college football playoff, I think it's your second. Because I remember the year with Herman where y'all went to the Sugar Bowl, y'all finished number 10 or 9, I believe. And then I think this year's your second year. Yeah, but Bama coming in over. I just don't understand why do we have a committee? Why don't we just use the BCS computer system, but like still keep the playoff? Like I don't.
Right. Make the computer crunch every statistical number that they vote on and like decide weight and everything, and then have the computer just run it. Because they contradict themselves literally every single week. And then I saw this one tweet right before we hopped on. I don't even know who sent it. Some reporter or something, but she was like, committee told me that it's not out of the realm of possibility that Bama doesn't jump Ohio State after this weekend's games play. Neither Bama or Ohio State are playing games this week.
Yeah, that's stupid.
How would Bama jump them? It makes no sense. And
the only thing I could think would be they would be like, well, LSU. Well, no, Bama got beat by LSU, so that wouldn't make sense. Yeah, I don't even know how that's even possible. Right. I don't even know how it's possible that you put literally they're one ranking away. So Bama's 6 and Tennessee 7.
Yeah.
How? How do you look at those two teams? Tennessee lost 2 games. They lost to South Carolina in a heartbreaker, and then they lost to Georgia. And
Yeah.
then Bama loses to Tennessee, and they lose to LSU. Like, South Carolina looks like a much better team right now than, in my opinion, than LSU does. And
Yeah.
we'll get to the A&M talk. LSU just went into Kyle Field and just got beat front to back.
I don't understand. I think Brian Kelly was like, we're going to the championship game anyway. Who cares? Y'all go out and party tonight. It made no sense.
You should have
It made
seen
no sense.
if you saw his press conference after, he couldn't explain it. They were like, "How did you lose tonight?" He's like, "I just really don't know. I can't explain it. They didn't beat us in like they didn't like exploit like just this one like everybody always has like this like A&M's for A&M's defense, it's the run defense. Like you run it down our throats, most likely you could be winning the game. Like that's how you beat A&M's defense this year is you run it down their throat. A&M didn't do that to LSU. They ran the ball a hell of a lot. They threw the ball really well. They played really well on defense. Like they just beat them in every facet of the game.
Yeah.
A team that's supposed to be going to the SEC championship. And then you look at South Carolina the last 2 weeks, they go in and put up 60 points on Tennessee, and then they just beat literally in 2 weeks in a row, they beat two top. I think they were both top eight teams at least. They go in and beat the dog out of Tennessee, and then they go in and they beat Clemson in Clemson.
Yeah,
I think that wins a lot better. That looks a lot better than, and they're in the top 25 now. That looks a lot better than LSU, in my opinion. Like, if you're just comparing off the last two games, like South Carolina looks pretty damn good.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I guess Arkansas last year after they beat us, and I saw them play the rest of the season. I was like, okay, they're really good this year.
Yeah.
So it probably makes you feel better losing to them for the first time ever. But they also beat Clemson and they also beat Tennessee or whatever.
Oh no, I don't feel good about losing to them. No,
why?
Not at all.
They're decent.
No, we should have won that game.
Man.
I could convince myself, and I'll never put this on pen on paper, but I could convince myself that if Connor Wegman started that entire game, we probably win.
Yeah.
Because Haynes King basically throws a pick six in the first offensive drive.
Oh yeah. Weren't y'all down 21 to
we were down 17-0 in the first 5 minutes because Haynes King throws an almost pick six, or they ran
it back. Yeah.
They ran the opening kickback. Haynes King basically throws a pick six, and then the ball snaps off of his knee into the defender's hand, and they take it back to the 5 and they kick a field goal. So they take a 17.0 lead and 17-0 lead in the first 5 minutes of the game. And then A&M almost came back to win it.
Right.
So I could convince myself. I won't ever say it that A&M would have won that game if Connor Wegman would have. It's just like Texas fans, right? We would have won the Bama game had Quinn Ewers played the entire game.
We almost won it without him. So why, just using logic, why does it not make sense that if you can play 3 quarters without the guy who was lighting him up in the first quarter, and you should have won based on like a shitty safety call, whatever, we should have won without him playing. Why can't you have said, or why is it weird to say, yes, we would have won with one extra little advantage easily?
Because I watched Quinn Ewers play in the second half.
Hold up. I said just that game. I said just that game.
Hey,
first quarter he was lighting him up.
Hey, we've seen him play in second halves of other games.
I guess he has a good. He's the kind of player that has. I'm gonna have a good game or I'm gonna have a bad game. There's no middle ground with him.
But he's looked like he's going to have a good game in the first half against Oklahoma State. You were like, he's going to have a good game in the second half.
Well, that ties into like the whole like play calling and like the receivers and everyone, but just the linemen. It was all a perfect storm of no one could do anything right.
Yeah, 2 years in, you're like, this is probably a Sark issue, probably not a Quinn Ewers issue.
I don't know how to fix it, but I think it is fixable. But yeah, but I think that ties into he's either going to play well or play great. I don't count second halves because the whole team sucks second half. So
Right.
just
So
first halves. He has good games and bad games. No middle ground with him.
okay,
And
so
that's frustrating.
back to Texas. We'll get.
Yes.
We've talked the college football playoff enough, and those people just make no fucking sense. Um, so Texas wins a great game against Baylor. Ewers looked terrible in that game too.
Yeah, that is why we ran it the whole second half because
Yeah, I mean
nothing was work. Oh, and he caused a safety and I don't know how many sacks when he should have just thrown it away.
Oh yeah,
Out of the pocket.
That strip sack.
Yeah, and then a strip six. If you just count his like not throwing ability, yeah, he didn't play good, and we would have won by 3 touchdowns. But you throw in all those mistakes he made that hurt us, like the other way, like we were trying to run away with the game in the third quarter, and he did that strip six thing, and I was like, okay, now they're down by 1 instead of down by 2 scores. Like,
I knew it was over for Baylor though the moment that happened because I was like, they're about to come out here and they're just gonna run it. And I'm watching with my cousin who's she's a Baylor student, and it's Thanksgiving, so we're all together. And I'm just sitting there and I'm like, Kylie, your team better win. And she's like, I don't know. And I was like, I don't know either. And she was like, what do you think? I was like, I think they're about to run it down your throat. And 11 plays straight.
Yeah.
Hands off to Bijan. 10 yards.
He was getting a first down every time. I was like, okay.
Hands off to Bijan, 15 yards. Hands off to Bijan, 5 yards. Hands off to Bijan, 10 yards. It was just like he was just sitting there. It was like watching the Isaiah Spiller versus Florida a couple years ago during the COVID year. A&M did that exact same thing. They were just like, we're just going to run it down your throat. And they just like run it down their throat all the way. And then Roshan gets the ball like one time. And I think he almost breaks it, but it's a holding call and it gets called back. Bijan comes back and gives it to Bijan. Touchdown. I'm like, Jesus Christ. These guys just like, there was no stopping them. And then Baylor's, man. I said it.
They lost so much. Like they lost a lot of talent. Like
they lost a lot of talent, but they made the biggest mistake ever. Baylor. I said it last year. Gary Bohannon was so damn good. I loved Gary Bohannon. I loved watching him throughout the year. Like the dude looked like kind of like a. I know this phrase is always used a lot because he's a big dude who can run the football. He kind of looked like Vince Young, he didn't look like Vince Young, a great value Vince Young. But the dude wasn't afraid to lower his shoulder and just run the ball. Them choosing Blake Shapen over Gary Bohannon was the biggest mistake.
Yeah. Agreed.
It was. Blake Shapen is not that great.
Yeah, but like their defense isn't what it used to be. Like they'll be better next year, but
the fact that y'all ran it down their throat like that was for Dave Aranda. He must have been embarrassed.
You couldn't tell. It just
because he's always stone cold faced.
I mean I wish I could do that. That is so like I always basically show how I'm feeling in my face. So like
you don't have a poker face.
No.
Yeah.
But I love it when the camera goes from it's like someone just photoshopped the same picture on top of it. It's just they showed him after the strip six and the whole sideline is just jumping. He's just like this. I'm like, your team just got a crazy play and scored a touchdown off it. Dance, do something.
Knows the game's not won.
Yeah.
Game ain't over.
But I mean, like I said, they'll be better next year.
So Texas.
I wasn't that worried about them.
Speaking of next year, Texas is 8-4. This is what we assumed would happen at the very beginning of the season. We were like 8-4, 9-3,
and ESPN FBI said 8 wins, or it was like 7.6.
I think Vegas said 7.5.
Yeah, I mean, they're literally exactly where everyone said they would be.
So 13-11 in his 2 years at Texas right now, and with no bowl game, without counting a bowl. I honestly don't even count these little bowls because so many players sit out. So many players. You've already lost 7 players to the transfer portal, so you're already
Right.
losing depth. This is what I'll get on that right here in a second. 13-11 though, 2 years in. Where do you judge Sarks' career at this point?
Minimum next year, play for conference championship. Minimum,
Yeah.
like the whole way. No, okay, we're still in second place, still in first place. Like the entire year, no, like 7-way tie situation thinking and mapping on the whiteboard every day, trying to figure out, do we have a chance of doing this? And it needs to be straight path right to the conference championship. Prefer to win it, but that's basically how it has to be if he wants to keep the job forever. Like it's basically make the conference championship is going to be like the new minimum.
I'm thinking if he wants to keep the job going into the year prior to you going to the SEC. I mean,
Yeah.
If I'm not saying,
well, we still got 2 more years.
I'm not saying, you got 2 more years, but if you go into next year and you're not even in contention for the conference,
right? Yeah. If we're 4th place in the Big 12 and 7-5 going into the Cheez-It Bowl, like that,
you gotta wonder, like, do I want to go get another coach before the year that you get in?
It depends on who's out there, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think he's still fine.
Yeah, no, he's fine right now.
I think we can make the conference championship next year because we almost made it this year, even with our crazy mishaps. So I think we'll make it next year, and he'll still be fine again. Following year, like, repeat plus like maybe have one of those A&M seasons where we're on the outside looking in of the college football playoff. That's, I think, the next step, and then
we're in that top 10 range where you're like.
So and then after that, he basically needs to be Lincoln Riley at Oklahoma, winning conference championships and either making it or getting right outside of making it every year.
Yeah,
and like Texas boosters have screwed it for everyone. Like that's like the realm of what is acceptable now because of all the firings and stuff that we've done. Whereas like Mac's worst year was like in the last decade was like 8-4, like fucking ridiculous. Like you look at our record from like 2000 to 2010, and it's like 12-win season, 13-win season, 11-win season, 12. Like that's they want every coach to be like that at all times. So I think it's a unsustainable requirement of the job.
It's sustainable, but you have to build to that.
Yeah.
Now,
if we were in the Big 12 for the next 10 years, I think it'd be easier to build to that. But then things are going to go wonky in 2025. It's all going to be different. I think that'll be like a COVID year, like a forgive me year. So I don't think he's going to be judged that harshly first year. But second year,
it depends. If you go in the SEC and you just get whooped.
No. I mean, like if we're like 7-5 first year in the SEC, like 6 or 5-3 in conference. What like I don't think that's fireable. I think that's like, okay, this is the SEC. Do better next year, and it kind of like starts them over again.
So speaking of when Texas comes to AC, our A&M's athletic director today had a big meeting, and he came out and said that he is reaffirming that Texas will play in Kyle Field the first year that they join the conference.
That's fine. People who care about that, make it like a do or die. Like we have to have it at our place, or we have to have it at your place. They aren't fans of the rivalry. I'm a fan of the rivalry. I just want the game played. I don't care if it's played at Jerry World. I just want.
I care if it's played at Jerry World. I don't want. Hell no.
No. If they say we'll bring it back, we'll start it in 2023. If the first 2 years can be at Jerry World, obviously I'd say yes. You would say yes too. Yes.
Absolutely not. I've been stuck at Jerry World with I've been stuck at Jerry World.
You've never been at Jerry World with the Texas game.
But I've been stuck with it for Arkansas, and
it would be like the tailgating event of like the century. It'd be like a 3-day long tailgate. It'd be awesome.
Somebody's gonna die in the parking lot.
Probably. But whenever, I'm just glad the game's played. I don't care if it's at Kyle Field. It's fine. I will be there. I told my dad, first game back, no matter where it's at, we're going.
No, I'm going for sure.
We're going. We have to go. And he was like, okay. So
yeah, no, we're for sure going.
Happening. So I don't care.
You can come to the tailgate, Kyle.
Yeah, I will be there.
Yeah.
I'll be slinging books too.
Hey, you can come to the tailgate. I don't know if you want to bring the books, but
I'm not
you
bringing
can
the
come
books.
to the tailgate.
I will not bring the books.
um, so back to the subject I was going to talk
Oh,
about
yeah,
the portal though. So in bowl
yeah,
games, we'll get to A&M here in a sec. We'll circle back to that. But about bowl games, so I don't even know why we play them anymore. I was thinking about that earlier today, and I was like,
yeah,
why do we even play these anymore? Texas and A&M. So A&M is irrelevant in the bowl picture, but A&M's already lost 6 players to the portal. Texas just today lost 7. You lost 7 players to the portal, and you're going to go play a bowl game without. And that's not all. That's not all the people that are going to be gone. And you also have players that are going to sit out. Like Bijan probably won't play. For I mean, not
yeah.
I'm not going to put
Okay.
words in the guy's mouth,
Yeah,
but if I'm trying to protect my NFL draft stock, I'm not playing in a game that doesn't matter.
right.
You know, and that's just me. Like,
Yeah,
I've always felt that way. When Miles Garrett played his final game for A&M, I was like, I appreciate you. That's great. Like, I'm happy that you played in the bowl game, but I wouldn't have blamed you if you sat out. You got to protect yourself. You got to protect your most important asset is your body.
yeah.
And if you're playing in a game that really just doesn't matter, like I don't know. I'm finding it hard to convince myself that these bowls should even like when the playoff expands, which hopefully it expands next year. I think we should just get rid of all these bowl games.
I mean, FCS does it. They just make it to the playoff, and that's the
That's
postseason.
it.
Is like 12 games is pretty good. Like, I would not be upset with that.
That's how it is in high school football.
That's how it is in every sport,
Yeah,
Chance.
you make the
Soccer,
playoff.
it's you play conference play, and then it's first round of the tournament, and then you're out if you
The
lose. Like,
only one I can think of that's like that is basketball, where you have like the NIT, which the NIT is only around because it's like a legacy thing. There
yeah,
was no NCAA tournament; it was the NIT, and then you
yeah,
have the other what is the Maui Gym Invitational or some crap or the
something.
C.
Yeah,
Yeah, there's some other third tier basketball tournament that goes on that nobody watches. Um, I'm just being honest.
we don't even know what it's called. That's
Yeah, I
how
don't even know what it's called.
that's how
I
little.
do know what the NIT is,
Yes,
but like hardly anybody even watches that one too.
right.
It's I don't know. I'm just having a hard time to convince myself that like why do these bowl games even matter anymore?
Yeah, I mean it. It's kind of like fun to travel, go somewhere different.
Yeah,
It's around the holidays. That's kind of fun. Like, hey, family, everyone gathered around Christmas. Watch my son. He's playing in this game. It's like
yeah.
on ESPN2. Make sure you like. I understand like it's a big deal, and like you said, some players sit out, so that gives opportunities for players that maybe be starting next year, get some reps in. Like, hey, look at me on camera. I'm playing a game. I see it for all those reasons,
But
but
some of those players may be in the portal.
right, right, yeah. But like, you're right. Since the sitting out started and just basically since COVID ruined everything. Since COVID,
Yeah, since COVID.
like they're A&M didn't play in their bowl last year, and I've seen bowl games just canceled last year. Just I don't know what the reason was, but
Like it would be great. Like one thing that I do say it's great
yeah,
for is that like A&M played majority freshmen this year, right? Like I think A&M had the highest snap count by freshmen by
oh
like
yeah,
a long
yes,
shot.
yeah, it's about like double
Um,
almost.
there's 2 extra weeks of practice that you get for bowl games, so
Yeah,
that's always great. You get those guys who are going to transfer, they're already out. Those guys who are going to the NFL, most likely they're probably already out too. So those guys who are going to be your core guys next year, they're getting reps.
yeah.
So like that's always great. My proposal: we move the bowl games to the spring instead of having these stupid spring games where I
I
don't
hate
know,
spring games.
like
Spring games.
you're drafting your teams, I guess, or you're
Yeah,
splitting them up like ones versus ones and twos versus twos. Instead of that, why don't we just play bowl games?
I have always been a proponent of just random exhibitions. Like you could play any school you want, one game in the spring, make that your spring like free attendance. I think that'd be awesome. Like
I think that'd be cool. Instead
and
of
both teams would be rusty. It wouldn't be everyone's starters. Like I think it'd be like a preseason game.
Yeah, well, I'm saying give them the 2 extra weeks of bowl practice that you give them in the spring, and then
Yeah.
instead of playing in your home stadium for the spring game, everybody just gets to travel, go have fun, give all the kids the money that they get now, and the because I think that's what they're doing. They're doing bowl payouts. Maybe they may not be doing that yet, but I know it's been discussed. And then like 75, if you win, you get 75% of the. No, that's being discussed. They're saying like to entice kids to play in bowl games that they get revenue share.
Oh,
Like if you
yeah,
win, you get 75% of the winnings. If you lose, you get 25%, and it could be
yeah,
quite a bit of money, with some of
yeah.
these bigger bowls. But you get all the swag and stuff, like when my buddy played in the Rose Bowl, he played for TCU. He got an iPad or an iPod because this was way back when.
Back in the day, yeah.
Yeah, he got an iPod with the TCU logo on it with the
Oh,
the
that's
uh,
cool.
the rose in its mouth, and like some of the guys that one of the guys I knew that played in the Fiesta Bowl when PlayStation was sponsoring it, he got like a PS, I think it was a PS4 at the time, and it had the university's logo on top of the PS4.
That's
Like those are
sweet.
things that you don't
Yeah,
get as like a normal guy. Like I don't have a Texas A&M PS5 or anything. Like
right.
that would be cool for me.
Yeah,
But yeah, I just think how much cooler would that be in the spring when you actually have like a set roster? These guys that have entered the portal have already like settled. The guys who are gone to the NFL are gone. Your
yeah,
freshmen are in. They're going to actually get one game, like one
yeah,
real actual game. Your early enrollee freshmen.
yeah.
I don't know.
It gives everyone like game experience
Mhm.
just so it goes smoother in the fall. Like it's man, fans would pack stadiums though to
Oh, for
see like
sure.
A&M and Michigan play a spring game, like an exhibition game, like for fun. I,
Yeah,
that would y'all would admit that's revenue. Like
you get
that's a win for everyone.
you get I don't know, like just some random team, like you get A&M and Michigan playing in the Kansas City Chiefs stadium. You like have a halfway point.
Yeah, yeah,
Like I don't know. I just think
yeah,
it'd be so much cooler just to
yeah,
have like all these like
yeah.
toilet bowls for like the spring instead of Texas showing up to the Alamo Bowl for the third time, but half their rosters out.
Right. And we're gonna have to play Utah again. And we just played them. Like ugh, I hate the same
Y'all
bowl.
are playing in the Alamo Bowl for the third time in 4 years.
I know it's because the third place team of the Big 12 goes to that one. So you know,
But if TCU loses their conference championship game,
yeah. Then we're going to the Cheez It. Yeah,
then you're going to the Cheez It Bowl.
that'll be good.
Yeah. So, anyway, that's our rant and rave about bowls. All right, let's talk about A&M, I guess. A&M goes in, beats the dog, or doesn't even beat the dog crap out of UMass. They actually look like dog shit against UMass. I'm like, oh my gosh, we're gonna get whooped by LSU. I was not excited for that game at all. And then I'm sitting there watching the ticker on my phone for games going on because at the tailgate we only have one TV playing. I think we were watching Auburn, Alabama at the time because Ohio State had started to lose the Michigan game, and I look at my phone and it says UMass is losing to Army 35-7, and I'm like, Army, Army is outscoring A&M versus UMass, and I was like, this is not cool. So we go into the LSU game, and I don't know what the hell happened.
I,
This this is the team that I wanted to see all year.
Chance, y'all scored the most points you've scored in like 16 games. How did that happen? And against LSU.
Yeah, we didn't put up that many points against Sam Houston State.
I know. I don't understand it. Like that's one of those weird college football creepy things that happens, and that's why college football is so awesome because
Oh,
that can happen any week to any team.
yeah. I mean, everything. It was just every gear is fitting into its proper place. Everything's just rolling right. This is when you're on the craps table and
You're hot.
you're throwing the dice and you're just hot. Or you go on the blackjack table and you're just hitting 21, 21, 21, 20, and the dealer bust, and you're just like, you're just
Yeah.
rolling. And I I mean that's the only way I could explain it is everything was just hit. Moose Muhammad, man.
Dude, I
Like
saw that freaking one-handed snag.
two of them. He had two of them. He had one where he was like in the middle. It was like in the middle of the field around the 40-yard line. He does it and like breaks off a guy, and then a guy tackles him from behind because he would have been gone to the end zone had that guy not like wrapped him up on his.
Yeah.
He pulls a one-handed grab, and then this guy's just like dragging him by his ankle, and when he breaks free, another guy gets him, and then Devon Achane, 200 yards rushing on 38 carries.
That's insane.
38 carries. Like, this isn't Derrick Henry we're talking about. This is 185-pound Devon Achane.
It's LSU. It makes no sense. I don't. Y'all were just kicking ass the entire time, and y'all went up by 3 scores or something in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, we were up by 3, and then they scored a touchdown, and then it looked like they were about to score another. When I was in the stadium, we don't. So you know how hard it is, like because like I feel like on TV you get to see so many more angles, but when you're in the stadium, the only angle we had of that touchdown was like he gets it. It's the last drive LSU makes. He like catches it, and it looks like he has it, but apparently somebody told me when he catches it, he tries to like readjust it, and that's when they didn't call it a touchdown because it wasn't, he didn't have full possession. When I was in the stadium, I was like, holy crap, that's a touchdown. Like, I was convinced. And then they called it a no touchdown, and I was like, well, that's game. All we got to do is just run it down their throat for a little bit, and that's a win. I was sitting next to a bunch of LSU fans. We were having a good time about it. And I couldn't believe it. I truly just was baffled by what was going on in front of me because it just and I knew. So we go into the fourth quarter and you hear it over the intercom. A&M fans, please remind you to stay in your seat and don't go on, don't go on the field like after the game. Yeah. And they started it in the fourth quarter, and I was like, man, yeah, I mean we're winning, but like, and then
don't jinx us.
Once A&M took a 20-point lead somewhere in the middle of the fourth quarter, they said it again. I was like, oh my gosh, they're having to warn people not to storm the field. And I was like, they're going to. It's a top 5 win, like in a team that has 4 wins on the season. We'll have 5, if you win this game. I was like, they're going to storm the field, and sure enough, like a one play too soon. They all
I saw that. Like, how much time was left on the clock?
There was 17 seconds left.
That's awesome.
I'm surprised. I'm shocked that the refs didn't throw a penalty flag, but I mean, I guess it just really didn't matter at that point.
Right. That's not going to change the outcome.
Yeah. So, okay, so this is what I was trying to look up because I remembered it was something crazy. So Devon Achane had 38 carries that game, right? Guess what his second closest total was?
Second
closest total in attempts. Like how much?
35.
25.
Damn, that's a lot of reps.
He's never gone above 25 in his career, and he's only gone above 20, including that time 4 times.
Yeah.
Like that's an insane amount of carries on like what you figure to be his last game or what could be his last game. I actually honestly don't think Achane goes. So game's over, A&M wins. It doesn't really do anything, but like, I mean, there were a ton of recruits there, so that's going to provide momentum. David Hicks was on the field. Apparently he's all bought into A&M now, so that's good. The recruits that were there, most of the guys are already committed, and then you had some like 2024. I mean, it's good for recruiting just to win that game and see like a field storming, for the 3rd time in 4 seasons because the COVID year, obviously we couldn't storm the field, but you had the LSU game in 2018, 2021, and then 2022. So I guess 3rd time in 5 years.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, the great news about all of this is a huge win. Jimbo Fisher seemed pretty he was, boisterous at the press conference afterwards, he was like, see what happens when it all works. We're like, yeah, Jimbo, we see what happens when you hit a perfect game. Like
yeah, it lined up
um,
perfectly.
yeah, when the stars all line up perfectly, we see that it works. We've also seen what happens when you literally strike out every time.
Right.
So a lot's happened since then. Six players have hit the portal, but they're mostly guys who didn't contribute this year. Chase Lane was hurt most of the year. He was great a couple years. For the 2 years prior, he was pretty good. He was like a possession receiver. Wish him all the luck. Donnell Harris comes out of retirement because he medically retired before the season started. Now he's transferring backup punters, transferring backup kickers, transferring. Who else? Who am I missing? A linebacker who was a friend. We've only lost one player so far from the class of 2022 of that. The number one class in the history of college football. We lost a linebacker who didn't play at all this year, which is shocking because it was like the worst position on the field for us on defense.
Yeah.
And the previous offensive coordinator has been relieved of his duties because obviously Jimbo has to go get a new one to be the play caller.
Yeah.
I don't know. Texas fans seem to be like befuddled by this is I guess the best word to use. Either that or they're just playing coy. Like I just saw on Twitter, like after he'd been fired, they're like, well, why is he getting fired? Because Jimbo's the play caller. Well, I mean, like, obviously if Jimbo's gonna not be the play caller anymore, he has to go get a new offensive coordinator. And I think that's proof that Jimbo's not.
Well, yeah, that's definitive proof. Definitely.
Right.
As soon as I saw that, I was like, oh, okay. I guess everyone was right. He is getting a coordinator.
Yeah, and I think it's definitive proof that he's not going to be the play caller. Because if they're going to fire if they're going to fire an offensive coordinator and go out and get a guy, the guy who's coming here is not going to want to sit here and like listen to Jimbo make the play calls. If Jimbo wasn't going to give up play calling duty, Jimbo would be gone. I have no doubt. A&M, much like Texas, much like USC, much like Notre Dame, Ohio State, most of these schools don't just have like these big donors that we talk about. We're not talking about millionaires. We're talking about guys with billions of dollars. Yeah. If one of these guys sat there and looked at Jimbo and was like, and these guys talk to the coaches. If Jimbo sat there and was like, I'm not ever going to give up play calling duty, he'd be like, okay, I'll just write the check. We'll just go get somebody else. I mean, it's that simple. Like, you're not going to sit there and look at that 5-win season and like convince them that any investment that they make in the future, and they just invested $200 million into new facilities, into new stadium. Like they're putting more suites in the stadium. Like these guys aren't going to scratch it. Sit there and scratch their head when the head coach is like, I'm not going to give up play calling. No, they're just going to move on.
For sure.
So,
we'll see how many transfer portal happen after the bowl game. You never know.
Yeah, for y'all, I don't.
A new era. There's rumors of Worthy going to USC to be with Caleb and Lincoln.
The portal opens on December the 5th. That is, as of today, we're recording on Tuesday for y'all. That is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Right? 6 days away. Am I getting that right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, 6 days away. That's when the portal opens. The guys who are going to be in the portal are already going to be in the portal by then, because it closes on the 15th.
Okay, then yeah, you're right. So we'll see how many more pop up in the next week or so.
Next 5 days. I really don't think either team is going to lose anybody of consequence. Is the word?
Well, Hudson Card's probably the biggest loss, but like you said, it's because Arch is coming, and even when Quinn's playing bad, he's still not going to start.
Well, yeah, I mean, no, some of these guys, like, they're just going to – most of the guys that are entering the portal from these larger schools are going to – like, from the A&M, from your from Texas A&M, from Alabama, from Texas, from Oklahoma, like from these big schools, like
Yeah, they're all going to start somewhere.
the schools that aren't the sisters of the poor in the NIL game, the schools that, most likely are going to be competing in some form or facet, the key contributors aren't going to leave. It's the guys who are struggling to get reps. It's the guys who, feel like that they're, could start somewhere else, and they deserve to go start somewhere else. I don't feel bad about any of these A&M guys leaving.
Yeah.
Like, if you aren't getting the time to play, good luck. Just like Hudson Card. I hope Hudson Card goes, to what, SMU.
I want him to go to it's like Auburn, just make your life hell or something.
It seems like every Texas quarterback transfers to like SMU.
Yeah.
You should go join Shane Buechele. Somebody said he was talking about Notre Dame.
I've heard a lot of Notre Dame talk. Yeah. Good wherever he goes. Good for him for
them.
Start. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean that's what the portal's there for. Is for you to go seek out better opportunities.
Yep.
Without having to wait a year. Like it used to be. Like
back in the like Baker, didn't he wait a year between Tech and that sucked?
So did Kyler. That wasn't even that wasn't even 10 years ago. Guys had to wait a year whenever they went to a new school.
That sucks.
Yeah, that sucks. So no, I mean, good luck to them. Like all the guys that are going to. The big news will be when somebody loses somebody of value. Like if A&M loses an Evan Stewart, or if A&M or if Texas loses an Xavier Worthy.
If USC picks up Xavier Worthy and Evan Stewart in the offseason or in the transfer portal because of transfer portal NIL canoodling or whatever, those will be giant stories, and then it'll be all shit.
I'm so shocked that last year that we did not see anything happen to USC after all that.
OU signed and committed guys, or not signed. OU committed guys all just pack up and leave with
OU guys on the roster. The guy from Pitt, the wide receiver.
Oh yeah, the
Blitnikoff winner.
Yeah, Blitnikoff. Yeah.
Yeah.
He just packs up and goes to USC. It's just starting a Super Bowl team, building an all-star. If the portal gets into that kind of shit, they're gonna do something, close it down.
Yeah, you got to close up shop quick.
Right.
Yeah, I'm surprised that they didn't do it for USC last year, but
yeah.
Yeah. So, well, A&M football is done for me. Aside from all the off-season shenanigans,
that's one thing I wanted to say. You know how much I was looking forward to this offseason? Not only because y'all sucked so bad this year, but y'all suck so bad. I wouldn't have to do anything, and I just would not be messed with basically all offseason, which would just be heaven for me because I get you don't know how many times I get tagged a day in some random two people's argument about nonsense and have my name drug into it and I had to sit there and mute them. I'm like, oh my god, I hate this shit. I was gonna just not have to deal with a lot of that this offseason, but then you go and beat top 5 LSU last game of the season to go out on a crazy high note. It's great for recruiting. You had a bunch of recruits there. Literally the best outcome that could have happened to you happened right before offseason. So I'm really pissed off about that.
It's it's like when you're leaving the casino and you only have a quarter and you put it in that slot machine that has the big
the big free
big
car.
Jackpot. Yeah, the motorcycle, and you just pull it and as you're walking away it all just goes off and you're like, oh my god. But it's not that big of a jackpot, but it's
seriously, people were I had a guy say, we just beat a top 5 team while y'all beat Baylor, but instead of Baylor, they said Bay LOL as the name.
Yeah.
And I was like, y'all were supposed to go 4-8. You're 5-7.
Yeah, I like that.
This offseason's gonna suck.
I liked how you and my friends over at One Team, is it what? One Team, One Podcast, the LSU podcast. I mess with those guys every now and then. Y'all posted the 4-8. Texas, the Texas 4-8 hats. Yeah, I'm so glad that you're.
Man, it was gonna be the best offseason ever. It would have been just a lot quieter.
It still sucks. We're still 5-7.
Right, but it's not going to feel that way since you just had this win. It's going to be a pumped up offseason for y'all.
I'm still talking.
Y'all have OC hunt going on right now. Like
I'm still not talking trash until after A&M signs their OC. That's when I'll be like, we're coming.
Yeah,
because
that's all y'all need, really. Seriously,
I've already heard the rumors of who the OC is and that he's already hired. So we'll just see. Apparently, it's coming soon because apparently they're gonna get him to announce before signing day, so that.
Because we had Sarks signed, sealed, delivered way before they played in the playoff game. So, yeah. So
that's what you have to do. That's another thing. I know that we're going on really long, but that's another thing. These coaches, they have to leave. Luke Fickell's already in, the Cincinnati head coach.
Yeah,
Wisconsin. He's already in Wisconsin. Cincinnati has a bowl game to play.
I know. That sucks. Tom Herman did that when he went to Texas. They played in it wasn't a giant one, but it was a pretty big one for Houston. And he was like, okay, assistant coach,
I'm not saying he's our offensive coordinator because I'm not revealing. I'm not a media person.
We all know who you're talking about, though.
We do the podcast for fun, but if say Garrett Riley was the new OC for Texas A&M, he's playing in a playoff game here soon, and this is TCU's biggest moment probably in their history of their school.
Right.
And the last thing that they want is the fact that their offensive coordinator probably just got poached.
Right. Yeah. Could be gone or could be signed elsewhere.
I mean, he already has to have it. If A&M already has him signed or has him agreed to this position before they play on that playoff game, A&M's already going to be talking about it because they need to because the portal opens on the 5th, it closes on the 15th, and National Signing Day is just a week after that. Those kids, you want him recruiting,
right? Yeah,
that's why these bowl games make no sense,
right? Just add it to the con column in bowl games.
Or why bowl games make no sense except for playoffs, except for the playoffs,
right?
And maybe we should just move National Signing Day back to February, where it used to be, where it's just one National Signing Day in February, and that way all these coaches can play in their bowl game or in their playoff game when those playoffs get expanded, and not have to worry about recruiting, in December, because majority of the classes are going to sign in December,
right?
So, just more stuff that we have to think about as college football fans. The game that we all know and love.
Well, we got to think of every single facet of it because that's how it gets us through these next 9 months. The season's over. We waited 9 months.
For me, it's over. You got one more game.
It's basically over. It's a bowl game which we just talked about. We don't even want around anymore, so it doesn't really matter. But we got to talk about everything just so we can make it through the offseason.
Yep. And that's what we'll do. I guess after this one, we'll probably go to 2 a week, or one every 2 weeks. Sorry, not 2 a week.
2 a month.
2 a month. And then we'll be talking about more basketball, because basketball's already started. A&M got a win over DePaul. It's not really worth talking about. Texas got a huge win over Gonzaga, and Gonzaga looks pretty good still because they beat Kentucky, I think, the game after that. Texas is up to number 2 in the AP poll in basketball, so definitely talk about that some more. And then college baseball is right around the season, and I know Texas A&M and Texas fans are both going to be excited about that. Got another game of the Lone Star Showdown in College Station, and then we'll see what happens in Omaha.
If we don't beat you this year, I don't know what's going to happen. It's been way too long. Okay, we'll talk about that later. But,
All right, everyone.
Anyway, hook 'em.
We appreciate y'all for all listening. Gig 'em. We'll see y'all next show.
Yep.